believe today I'm coming to you from the upside down, where a religious evangelical gathering is called a Nazi propaganda or a Nazi gathering. So here I am in the upside down. My friend Tyler Fischer, whose content has been warned as potentially sensitive. I had breakfast with Tyler in San Jose after an RFK event. Didn't find him to be particularly radical, but okay. I thought he'd come back and explain what's going on in his life. And in addition, we have Brad Thayer. He is talking about the CCP and its influence on the NGOs and this extraordinary web that I don't know how many of us knew about, but I certainly did not, and the influence upon Antifa and all these other groups that are having their way with us for the last, God knows how many years. And then finally, Mark Mitchell, the radicalization of Reddit, radicalizing users and what we need to do about that, and more coming up right after this.
Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for Christ's sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue, and we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15. All right, we're going to start off with a little lighter note, I hope anyway. Tyler Fischer, his website is Tyler Fischer, FISCHER.com, and X is TY the Fish, FISCH. Tyler, welcome back.
How are you? Sorry, doctor. I'm just self-administering my daily booster shot. I'm not taking Fatty. Is that really the name of that? That's incredible.
Yeah, it's good. It's a pentadecanoic acid, fatty acid. It's really good. There are a few longevity products that I get behind. That is one of them. We should be taking that. So there you go.
Tough conversation with your doctor that, look, you're not doing great. We're going to put you on Fatty. Right? The fat shot. You know the fat shot. Are you on the fat shot? You look a little thin. In the neck, you're like, you got that
Adam fat shot. Yeah, I know the fat shot. Am I on the fat shot? No. I'm not on the fat shot. I'm just getting old. So,
good to see you, man. You look fantastic.
So good to see you too. So our home is, what's behind you there? Look at that. There's your name in lights or something.
Austin, Texas. It says Austin.
It froze.
I'm in Austin,
Oh,
Texas.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I was worried when your stream froze for a second there, and I thought, oh damn, he has been silenced. You're somebody that has been attacked in many different ways. Now, what's going on in your X platform? You're suddenly sensitive content there, I heard.
Yes, I did an NBA AI spoof. You know, they were throwing those sex toys on the court, so I made an AI version of that. And now everything I post is deemed sensitive. So I guess Elon, it went a little too far. We like Mars, but we don't like sex toys. So there'll be no sex toys on Mars. So.
It is. Oh, there's your upcoming tours coming up. So Tyler does the best Trump ever, so I'm sure you saw the Tylenol press conference yesterday, and you explained this to me. One of the things that caught my attention was when Trump gets up and goes, "Look, the scientists are being careful. They can't say this, but I can say it. I can say it. I can say, don't take Tylenol. Don't do it." And I thought, oh my God, that cracks me up so much. And then I thought, oh, that's the stuff that drives some people insane. They think he's like a maniac at the wheel. I would love to hear your version of Trump, and then Trump explaining why some people react to him that way.
Well, frankly, we call these people, really, they're woke and they're sad and they can't take information, but we have, there's more information that RFK, think of it, and RFK is afraid to say it, Drew, but I'm a big fan of RFK. The real cause of autism, Dr. Drew, is having a baby with a liberal, and we know that, and that's, the science is clear. And so there's some breaking news for you. Have we looked into that?
And speaking of being liberal, you were you all the way woke at one time? I've never heard that full story, like how you transitioned, as it were.
That's what I say. I'm trans. I'm transitioning into a logical person, and nobody respects that. They just call me a far-right racist. Yeah, I wouldn't say I was liberal. It's just how you're raised. If you're raised in a very Catholic household, that's who you are. I was raised watching CNN, and my father came out of the closet when I was 7, so I grew up with a mom with mental illness and a gay dad. And I was like as tolerant as it comes in more of the logical way. But I posted this tweet about the shooter of Charlie Kirk, and I'm sure there's much more information to come out. So who even knows at this point? But what I was trying to point out is, like, I understand how young men have nothing to live for, because that happened to me. I went down the far left rhetoric. You're toxic, you're oppressive. Any success I got was punished. I'm out with women going, I'm gender fluid. I'm like, what are you, wet? What are you talking about? Like, now I'm playing Russian roulette with genitals on a first date, and I'm getting lectured. And so, it just drove me into a dead end. And not getting the COVID shot.
I want to slow down, because I'm fascinated by this, because I think if we're going to get out of this, it's going to be young males that lead us out, as it typically is. But I think young men has been I'm almost heartbroken by how poorly we have served young males, telling them they're toxic, they're worthless, they're marginal, that we have no use for you. But tell me about, you said you were being lectured. You mean you were on a date and somebody would lecture you?
Well, I was in New York City for 15 years. I mean, what I don't think people understand is women drive the sexual marketplace. Well, it's like, now I'm turning to Jordan Peterson. It's like, you drive the market, it's like, we do what women want, and they do. So men started adapting to this far left radical feminism. And I actually saw that, Tyler. I saw that in real time. I just kept saying it about 12 years ago. I said, I know what this is. Maybe 15 years ago. This is young men who want to have sex with these girls and realize that they better toe that line if that's what they want to do. And it ended up backfiring on them. It ended up doing the exact opposite. But keep going. So you were toeing the line because it makes you unnaturally open to ideas that may not be rational. Yeah, exactly. And I was in Hollywood. So, I was doing well in Hollywood. And as you know, I literally got fired for being white from an agent. And then the next manager who scouted me, that's where they come and watch you and they bring you in a meeting, go, you're going to be a star. They said, our company policy is to not hire white men. The company's called AGI Entertainment. I'm in a 4-year lawsuit. Okay, so now I'm suing somebody, standing up for myself for actual racism, and those same far left people turned that on me and called me racist. So it just, the insanity compounding, and you can see why men are shutting down, not approaching women. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I used to be on the Gutfeld show. I asked a woman out at Fox News, some woke manager or higher up called that harassment, and I got canceled from the show. Now, I love Greg. I love Fox. I gave up friends and family to go on that network, and I lost half of my tour money from that. And now I have to pursue a defamation lawsuit. So it's like, if they could do that to me, and Trump says that a lot, right? If they do it to me, they'll do it to you. I'm starting to understand, like, they make examples of people and they sacrifice you for the cause of woke insanity. My heart
the
does.
Good news about you. The good news about you is you're so talent has a way of rising, and so I have no doubt you'll have success in your tour because you're so damn funny. But I have no doubt about that. But this idea that men, I've had other friends in New York City that literally bought someone a drink and was kicked out of the bar for daring to do that. Just being friendly gets you kicked out of an environment.
Asking somebody for coffee. Coffee, Drew. We had coffee at that hotel in California. You could have had me fired for saying, "Hey, you want to have a cup of coffee?"
Damn, I missed that opportunity. So close too.
Really bad.
And you had now listen, you always have to look at yourself when these things happen. And I'm not accusing you of anything, but you had some problems with Delta Airlines too. So I hope you're just examining so you don't make any more mistakes. At least that mistakes. And so you don't step on any more landmines. Don't step on more landmines.
It's also important to note, I've been in therapy 7 years. I'm in 12-step programs. I don't do anything without running it by literally an army of people. So, the accountability is there. It's like, once I lost my Hollywood career, they gave me a lot of free time to reflect. They actually gave me the time to sue them, which is so funny. I was, that's ironic that they opened up 4 years of time to sue.
It's interesting. Two things. One is you actually had a recording. You actually recorded them telling you, I saw you with Dr. Phil going over that recording. It was absolutely mind-boggling, number one. And number two, one of the things I know about recovery, one of the things I worry about when people are suing is that they're suing out of resentment. So one of the things I know about recovery is you can't be in recovery and have resentments. So I know you're not doing it out of being resentful.
No, it's again, forget me. I lucked out. I was just in my hometown. I saw a monument of a guy who died in war. And I thought, this 18-year-old went and took a bullet to the head. Charlie Kirk just took a bullet. And so this is a war. Like getting called a creep harasser for asking someone for coffee at Fox, that's character assassination. I just had a first date. Look me up and Google me, see that article, and start screaming at me. It's like, I could only handle so much. I know I'll be fine, but I'm doing it for the young boys who didn't have, the 90s where you had to develop a character and go up to a girl and
right.
I'm 5'3". Do you know the overcompensation I've had to do to date, know?
Yeah.
What about the kids that never experienced that? So at this point, forget me. I don't care. I don't need money. I don't need fame. I'm fighting for the freedom to be masculine, just like we're fighting for women to have their power and strength as females. It's insane what's happening. So
take me more, if you can, through the transition again, because I'm fascinated by that because I feel like a lot of men need to make that transition, and so I kind of want to know more about it. Like, no, I don't want to see your genitalia, which I want to see. I want to see what is that process? Did somebody persuade you? Did you just suddenly start thinking in the shower one morning, what am I doing? I mean, how does that work?
I'm not gonna mince words. It was brutal. I almost didn't survive it. even going on Fox News, I had comedians going, "You're a racist piece of shit." I had to hide in a van outside a comedy club to go and do spots on Fox. Like I was, in some kind of secret club. The vaccine stuff, being at your parents' house, not allowed inside while your family's on the other side of the porch with a mask like you're a disease. It was brutal. But I just kept saying, this isn't normal. This is against God's will, our natural instinct. And I kept reflecting on that. And I saw Jordan Peterson say, you should not accuse someone of white privilege. That sparked, fighting the discrimination stuff. But this has been a 6-year mental battle. And thank God I have this little outlet of comedy to keep me just above the surface. Most people don't have that. Most people have to go into an office and, stuff it down. So it's not resentment. It's duty at this point, and trying to have a little fun along the way. It's not what I expected when I used to be on TV and, considered for big Hollywood roles, but it is what it is.
Yeah, not what I expected is the thing I keep saying about some of the stuff I've done. Like, when we were doing Loveline back in the 80s, this was not, we were not expecting, we did not intend with some of the shit that's going down now. We did not intend that people would end up here. This is not at all what we were intending. It is a really odd time, and it is time for a compensation of some type, like a comeback. You mentioned Charlie Kirk a couple of times. Did that affect you?
Oh, I cried. I'm still crying. I've never met Charlie, but I kept seeing these clips pop up that reaffirmed all of the things that I'm doing. Stop talking about race and gender as your primary identity force, which Jordan talks about. It just was like these little things going off. And he had a quote. He said, "Let's disagree agreeably." And I thought, man, how many friends and family would I still have if they could come to the table and say that? Because I never pushed anybody out. I never did. I'm really proud of that. I still, the woman I asked out at Fox News was not a conservative. She said she didn't like working at Fox and didn't agree with them, but we had a little magical spot. And so, she was also robbed of a potential relationship from wokeism. So yeah, Charlie, look at his wife, look how strong she is. It's like, you can't deny it. The guy was, he had a magic to him.
And, I saw, this is a different topic. I saw you in a comedy club where you were sort of shitting on Jordan Peterson and doing a little bit of a Jordan Peterson imitation. And he walked up on the stage. What was he doing there? When did that happen? Do you have a relationship with him?
I still can't comprehend that because during COVID, I'm on the couch, really just going, am I going to survive life? Losing my comedy career to the vaccine stuff and then my Hollywood stuff for the discrimination. And I would sit on the couch and watch Jordan Peterson for 10 hours straight. And then he's calling me, asking me to come on his podcast. And it's like, I don't know how I even sat through that interview. And then we sat and had dinner for 3 hours. He's like, would you like, come have a steak with me? And I was like, unreal. And we continued to talk. And I got more support from Jordan Peterson on a screen as a stranger than anybody in my life. If that doesn't clue you into young men not having any support. And then he said, I want to come on stage with you. So I wrote jokes and I insulted the shit out of him. And he insulted the shit out of me. And that was probably one of the highlights of my career. Yeah.
What club was that? It almost looked like the Cellar. Where was that?
That was in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where his daughter lives.
So funny.
And he's not doing well right now. So say a prayer for Jordan. His health is...
I've heard.
Yeah.
I know, I've heard. And Michaela too, I think, was having something going on too. So I worry about them both. Yeah, he's an extraordinary guy, and his main, I mean, that's always been his sort of primary. I mean, he didn't start there. I found him back years ago. I feel like I'm an early adopter.
Yeah.
When he was doing the first, somebody was interviewing him to go over his Maps of Meaning series. And I thought, it might have been Dave Rubin doing it, but in my head, it was like one of his students. I don't really know who did it. It must have been 10 years ago now, maybe more. And I thought, oh man, I've been looking for somebody who pulled together psychology and anthropology. He did it from a Judeo-Christian perspective, but he pulls a lot of these things together. And I thought, that's it, that's the guy. And then he went on into creating the narrative for young men, those initiatives he was doing.
Yeah, you got to be sharp, because he'll be like, well, you got to save your father from the belly of a whale, as long as it's not within a larger scope of the burning bush. You got to really stay on it. But he wants young men.
Jonah and the whale has been a theme of his throughout all of his stuff. It really has. It's funny you bring that one up. But that's the one that keeps popping up for him. So it's very interesting.
And he really wants young men and young women to thrive. He's in love. I've never seen somebody so in love with their wife besides you, Dr. Drew.
Thank you.
We sat at dinner and they are madly, madly in love. And I thought, he's correct. And he lives by what he preaches, which is family is the most important thing. So nobody's being told that. Hardly ever anymore.
Well, no. I think that the follow-on to that from a faith perspective was Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
I was thinking that at his memorial over the weekend. I thought he has taken what I hope what Jordan Peterson has been preaching, the topic he's been preaching about in a very comprehensive way, and Charlie has distilled it down to get married, have kids, have faith. Make meaning. He just kept it very simple. I thought, I really hope that's what comes through here.
I should distinguish. Nobody on the left is being told that, and I really mean that. I don't. It doesn't exist. And even my male friends, I'm 38. They all want to have kids, and their leftist girlfriends and wives don't. And I see these guys like so lost because they hit a wall. Like, where do I go from here? Going to market and drag shows every Sunday.
You know what? I was on Tim Pool a couple months ago, and two of the guys in his studio with him, I don't know if they're regular. I don't listen to Tim enough to know what these guys are regulars, but they both said to me, they were like 20-something, mid-20s, and they were like, all I want is direction. I want to know how to make meaning. I want how to live right. I need direction. Somebody's got to tell me. And I thought, wow, that's such a change, because when I was that age, it was F off, the casting off the yoke of society. Now it's very different than now, which is like, hey, let's help me make meaning of all this.
It's everything. Yeah. I wake up and I just go write a joke, find a way to film it, go fly somewhere, tell it on stage. It keeps me on track. And it's people I hate to make it political, but I would say anywhere from moderate to the right that are so enthusiastic about it. My crowds are unbelievable. The people that scream.
What's their favorite imitation? Or what do you guys call it?
Impression.
What do you guys call it? Impression. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone has a different one. And again, because I was never, on the Jimmy Kimmel front, they wouldn't let me do my impressions on his show. They said, Jimmy will be offended because he's friends with the celebrities you do. And so that was crushing to me. That was before I was political, anything. So everybody's got their different one. I mean, Joe Rogan on his podcast didn't let me do RFK. He shut me down. So it's like, I don't know what the hell's going on anymore.
Do you have to do Trump?
Where?
For Joe.
No, on Kimmel.
Oh, and Kimmel. Oh.
That was okay, right?
No, this was before the
pre-Trump.
This was pre-Trump or he was president, but I was still really woke and probably not making fun of Trump yet. So that wasn't it. It was Woody Allen. They said he's too controversial, and it wasn't like a pro Woody Allen. It's just a good impression. It was Ryan Gosling, Owen Wilson. They strung me along for months. And by the way, Jimmy Kimmel has canceled all stand-up comedians on his show, which you're going to talk about free speech. That was a big outlet for comedians. And Colbert won't even sit and watch the comics. He fakes it like he's there. He has the comics come in like cattle, and they do their sets in one day. These guys are so narcissistic, they don't even want funnier comics on. So
that's really interesting. Caleb, I hear you ringing in here. Did you want to ask Tyler something?
How did you know that I was about to? I didn't even make a sound here. No, I noticed something I noticed about the right as opposed to the left is that we actually invite and basically beg, please make fun of us. One of the biggest ways that the right shows love is through the thousands of different variations of JD Vance memes. That's how they show they love him. And I also read that Charlie Kirk's own producer has been telling South Park, please put the episode back up. Charlie loved it. He loved that you made fun of him. I don't think anyone on the right gets offended by that stuff. If it's actually funny, some of the stuff SNL has been doing, I'm like, guys, there's 100 funnier things you could use about RFK than the one joke that you always go to. Just make it funny and we'll love it.
Yeah, you're correct. What I find is when people are more explicit about their politics at my shows, if they're on the right, if the joke doesn't land, they sit there and they wait for the next joke. On the left, I have to have people dragged out by security all the time. I just had a protest my show in Minnesota. So the data's in. I don't like to politicize.
Keep listening to this show because we're going to hear a lot about how that is all funded and what that web looks like. That we're going to get into that after I let you go. And I'm fascinated by all that because I had no idea. But the most shocking thing about a million things left me gobsmacked about COVID. But the two that were the most striking to me was A, how my peers behaved, and B, that the government was involved in this pressure and silencing. It never would have occurred to me. Neither of those things were in my potential repertoire of how reality worked. They both came out of nowhere, but I'm glad they showed themselves because now I see you. I know you are now.
And they waited for Jimmy Kimmel, whose ratings were in a grave. That's their free speech martyr. It's like, we're not falling for it anymore. Go read the comments from all these celebrities supporting him. They're getting obliterated. We're done,
Well, I think that's the point. I'm going to say this to you now. I don't remember I was going to say it to somebody else, but I was thinking this morning about Cervantes, about Don Quixote. I know Susan's laughing at me. This is probably the nerdiest thing I've ever said. So prepare yourself. And I've said a lot of nerdy things. Don Quixote. When I read that book, I thought, this is about a previous generation clinging to their values. He wanted to be a knight and he wanted to save the damsel in distress. And he was so in delusion about his ancient ideas that he started having sword fights with windmills, tilting at windmills, taking his lance and driving into a windmill. And it was all, and old Sancho Panza, who represented the younger guys, were like, dude, please, sir, stop doing that. It's not real. It's not happening. And I thought, that is what is happening right now. That these celebrities think that they're still relevant, that people are going to respond to them, that the television is as powerful as it used to be. It just isn't. And it reminded me of Don Quixote, strangely. So there's my nerd. You bring that up to Jordan Peterson when you talk to him, and he would take it and do something with it, I think.
I'll run it by him. Yeah, but again, back to half the country being silenced, canceled, fired, censored, deplatformed. There's been a monster brewing underground. And now we're all coming out and going, where were you?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah, Corolla just goes, he has one acid test. Where were you during COVID? Fine. Okay, cool. Where were you during COVID? Where were you? Why did you say something then? When it was harder, when it was actually difficult. All right, my friend, good to see you. Where should people go?
TylerFischer.com, and you can follow me. That's my Ty the Fish everywhere. I'm censored on Twitter right now, but YouTube, Instagram.
Oh, Ty the Fish.
In Chicago this
Wait,
week.
you're censored?
Yeah.
Where are you censored?
Oh, you just have. Oh, yeah, because you left that post up. It's pinned at the top. It's pretty brash, Drew. You'll like it.
Okay.
Say hi.
Tyler's not known for pulling his punches.
It's so great. But anyways, I need a lawyer, so please hit me up in my DMs or email.
All right, my friend. Talk to you soon. Good to see you.
Buddy.
All right.
All you lawyers.
So what we are doing next is Brad Thayer is coming in here. And there's a lot here. There's a lot. As I said, we are going to try to gain an understanding of this web of NGOs, and not just that web, but how the CCP, Susan's going to jump through the microphone. I just know it. And the radicalization of people who are physically violent against multiple groups. He has many stories he's published. I'll ask him which ones we should read as a primer. A lot of it is on Just the News, New York Post, the Zero Hedge, the Federalist. So do check Brad, Thayer. His social media is Brad Thayer, just like it sounds. He also has CPD China, as well as presentdangerchina.org. His books, Embracing Communist China, America's Greatest Strategic Failure, which is a really interesting frame on what we're about to discuss. And of course, Antifa has now been designated, I think, is it just a domestic terror group now, or is it an overall terror group because of this influence of foreign money? We'll see. We'll talk to Brad about it right after this. I've spent most of my career dealing with illnesses that shorten life, and now we have ways to extend it and extend wellness. I've been working with the team over at V-Shred to develop a product that has everything I want in a longevity supplement. NR Boost has nicotinamide riboside. You know how metal can rust? Well, your body behaves in a similar way. It's mediated through something called NAD. NAD falls as we age, so we're less able to fight off that oxidative process. We oxidize much like that metal. And NAD fights it, but nicotinamide riboside elevates NAD so we can push back on those oxidative stressors, improving health, improving longevity. The other product is Senosync, has fisetin, one of the key molecules to fight off zombie cells, and we've added resveratrol to that, which is a well-known anti-aging antioxidant again. I don't like supplements that have a ton of ingredients. To me, it suggests that none of it's working. When I prescribe a medication, I prescribe that medicine because I expect that to work. That is exactly what I've done with these products. And I want you to go to drdrew.com/vshredmd for 10% off. Again, that is drdrew.com/vshredmd. The wellness company knows that taking charge of your family's healthcare is a top priority, and being rationally ready, and who knows what the future will hold for us. Now, TWC has a service to cover your family's medical needs, including and especially prevention. For just $100 a month, the One Wellness Elite membership includes 2 free medical-grade nutraceuticals per month, free prescriptions for over 800 of the most common medications, access to concierge telemedicine available at a moment's notice, and a 15% discount on all supplements and the emergency kits. 15% off the emergency kits. That's quite a saving. So if you're spending $100 or more on supplements and meds every month, this plan will already save you money. If you sign up for a year, you'll save $200. And when you use the link, drdrew.com/TWC, you'll get 10% off the first payment to the One Wellness Elite membership. Check out One Wellness at drdrew.com/TWC and get 10% off your first payment. drdrew.com/TWC. It's all there.
I wasn't all Dr. Drew or anything.
Why would I screw myself? What am I, Dr. Drew?
And just a reminder about TWC, there are 3 tiers on that system. It's about medical freedom and breaking free of this dysfunctional system. The Select, the Premier, and the Elite each has different solutions for your family and healthcare concerns. Great discounts at all levels. Wellness Company has this all down to a science. drdrew.com/TWC and enter Drew at checkout for another 10% off. Yeah, we love TWC's they're making every effort to improve. Sorry about the mic cable, guys. Improve the well-being, wellness, and also freedom of patients. We're trying to get things into the hands of patients. You should have it, not the system. And Paleo Valley is in for the fall, of course. They're constantly updating their products. And now a new grass-fed and finished bone broth protein powder, savory flavor, turmeric and ginger. Hundreds of demonstrated health benefits of turmeric. Turmeric's ability to encourage a healthy inflammatory response is at the core of its soothing properties. Paleo Valley uses only certified organic whole food turmeric. And as you know, Paleo Valley's bone broth is made with bones, not hides. And each scoop, 7 to 8 grams of collagen protein. I just had one in coffee just now on the way up here, actually, as I was sitting here. We don't get enough of this collagen that is provided in the bone broth. I also have to mention the new pumpkin spice superfood bar. Susan just had one. When she sits back at the mic, she'll tell us. It's, of course, the bone broth powder at its core. It's delicious. Get them before they're gone. They're here just for the season. Go to doctor.com/Paleo Valley and get 20% off when you subscribe or 15% off your first order. So I'm going to get Brad Thayer in here just a second, but I wanted give Susan a chance to.
Yummy. Check it out.
Yeah.
Before they go.
I wish I need to have one right after the show here. All right. Brad Thayer, as I said, I gave you all the particulars. The book is Embracing Communist China, America's Greatest Strategic Failure. And this web of influence that, again, I was ignorant to, but I bet Brad has not been. Brad, thank you and welcome to the program.
Well, it's my pleasure to join you. Thanks for having me.
How long have you been concerned, not just about China, but this web of NGOs and domestic terror groups, and how long has that been on your radar?
Oh, for many decades, because for most of my career, I've been a student of communism, of how communist governments operate. I'm old enough, Drew, as you are, to know the Cold War and to have experienced that. And of course, we studied the Soviet Union very closely and how the Communist Party of the Soviet Union operated directly through its intent, but also through front organizations, those who were fellow travelers or who were going along with the Soviet Union, but who wanted to have some plausible deniability, right? They did not want to be associated with the Soviets or with communism directly, but they acted for all intents and purposes, of course, as agents of the Communist Party. Well, the Chinese Communist Party does the same thing. They're a knockoff of the Soviets, and they've been operating the same way. One of the things the communists have done, Drew, very importantly, is that they have introduced from the outset, really since 1919, they created an organization called the Communist International. And the Communist International was designed to operate by any means necessary in non-communist countries to overthrow them. And one of the groups that the Communist International supported, of course, were really Antifa precursors. These were going to be the guys fighting for the streets, right? This would be the muscle that would be necessary in the street battles against rival political parties throughout Europe, and then, of course, in the United States as well. So when we see that intent, we can understand that Antifa really has a genealogy, and that genealogy is goes back, of course, to the beginning of the Bolshevik Revolution. So we shouldn't be surprised by the tactics or how this is going to be layered as well, Drew, that the Trump administration has designated Antifa a domestic terror organization, and that's going to allow the administration to get into the funding for this group, how they are connected, how they communicate, the leadership, not just the public face of the leadership, but also those who want, again, that plausible deniability, those who are going to be fellow travelers in the media, among politicians, in business, and with well-known foundations, for example, Tides or Soros Foundation, for example, or Act Blue. When you start investigating this is going to be like Schliemann at Troy, right? You're going to have to go through layer after layer after layer, 9 layers of the city before you actually get to Troy. you're going to have to go through using the powers that now government now can employ, a long process. But the process has begun, and that's going to allow us to see, even in 6 months, this is going to look very different than it does now. We're going to be able to see a lot more of the ties, a lot more of connections. And a year from now, a year hence, I think we'll have a very good picture of really how Antifa operated in the United States, how it worked with foundations, how it worked with the Chinese Communist Party and other nefarious actors.
Two things. Do you have a sense of what they're going to find or what they're going to be able to do about it? And and that's one question. And the other sort of corollary, maybe adjacent question, is I've noticed a lot of these people that they have recruited are a subset of the homeless population. There's about 10% of people that live on the streets that are clearly sociopathic radicals, and they have shit all over their tents and things. And I've talked to some of them, and they are just horrible to talk to. Is that their street soldiers? And then what do you expect to find at the end of a year?
Well, at the end of a year, I expect to find that we're going to see that Antifa was the muscle, but the brain and the nervous system really are going to be the key elements here. And the brain is going to be, I think, rooted in the Chinese Communist Party through their intelligence apparatus, through their United Front Work Department and other tools that they use to undermine the United States, working in conjunction directly, but also as fellow travelers with Soros Foundation, with Act Blue, with major donors to the Democrat Party. And those individuals will be receiving top cover from media, of course, from major Democratic politicians as well, Drew. So there's a lot that's going to be uncovered. Some of it is going to come out, I think, very quickly. A little bit more is going to be difficult, but take a little bit longer to ascertain. But it will come out now that they're going to be applying these tools against them. Your question with respect to the foot soldiers is a very important one, right? That somebody is paying these individuals. Antifa, to hear them say, right, they're essentially opaque with respect to their funding, with respect to their organization. In fact, they deny that they have an organization or that they have a funding, when in fact that's an obvious lie. That's obvious deception. They're able to pay these individuals. They're able to use these individuals as muscle. Again, but as a doctor, right, it's the muscle, but it's the nervous system and the brain, which is really operating that. And so let's get to the brain. And let's get to the nervous system, how they're paid, how they communicate, and how they strategize, importantly. So when we see it that way, Antifa's muscle, Antifa's also a recruiting office. It provides training, and it provides, in fact, a higher education in violence for its members. And thirdly, it also provides that shield for academics, for the media, for politicians, again, to have that plausible deniability. So in the genealogy of communist organizations, this is exactly, it fits it exactly, where you have the essentially nefarious actors driving this, they're working through muscle, and they're doing their utmost to provide layers of protection so you don't know what they're doing, and they're able to continue to bring about their undermining of the U.S.
Is Soros understand that the CCP is a major influence on all this? And if not, what does he think he's doing?
I don't know George Soros, of course, but I would have to. He is an individual who's very knowledgeable about European history and Soviet history and communist thought and how communists operate. So I would have to believe that he's knowledgeable about how the Chinese Communist Party is operating to undermine the United States, as he is working to operate to undermine the United States through this organization, but also immigration, of course, the migrant crisis, of course, as President Trump identified today at the UN. right? The UN is funding it, but a lot of other actors are funding that too. So we want to see that that's a second pillar here. It's Antifa, to be sure, is one front, if you will, but there are multiple fronts in this conflict. In immigration, the migrant crisis, right, importing millions and millions and millions of individuals into Europe, into the United States, Canada, Australia, is by design, right? That somebody is directing that.
Yeah.
And pulling on this thread, the Antifa thread, I think is going to reveal a lot more about multiple pillars in terms of how the brain is operating to undermine us.
Wow. I have a historical question, and it is fueled by my preoccupation with 1789. I was thinking about how you mentioned in the streets, getting control of the streets and the foot soldiers in the streets. That didn't really exist before 1789. Before that, it was feudal systems, or at least kingdoms, and there were sort of armies raised, and the armies would fight each other, or maybe there'd be an uprising, and that would be against the king or some duke or something. It would be excess tax. But this idea of taking over a bureaucratic state was invented in 1789. Is that true? And do people that are communists think about things that way?
Oh, absolutely. They do. So the French Revolution was supremely important for that, as the English Revolution is about 1642 and after, where you had a lot of the same processes play out. But absolutely, they're thinking in that way. Communism, of course, is intending to destroy the U.S., right? To destroy political liberalism, our history, our ideology, our political culture, our constitutional republic. And they've been hammering at it in what I've called the 100 Years' War. We fought a 100 Years' War with communism. We just don't identify it as such, where they do, right? They're quite explicit about what they want and how they're targeting us. And we've been slow, really, to respond. I think President Trump's efforts here are going to be supremely important for allowing the American people to see that what looks to be discrete and what looks to be separated is in fact not, right? That there are going to be ties, there are going to be patterns of behavior, there's going to be communication, there's going to be money, and there's going to be strategy and direction. Some of that's in Beijing. Some of that's going to be driven by individuals in Europe and in the United States. It's going to allow us to see that a lot of what ails the West and Western civilization is deliberate, and that the West has been targeted for destruction, and they've been supremely successful so far. And President Trump is doing his utmost to turn the rudder, right? To be able to recognize, hey, we've got a huge problem here, as he said at the UN today, right? Boldly telling them to their faces, right, what they needed to hear, what they know, but needed to be here, and what needed to be made explicit about we're moving in the wrong direction. And if we're going to save the United States, if we're going to save more broadly the West, we need to act now to call these people out, identify them, and if they've broken the law, then so be it. I mean, to have Department of Justice and equivalent ministries in other countries act accordingly.
Is it, I forget the full name of the act, the Munt Act that President Obama had, he reversed it. Was that an attempt to get at some of this stuff? And is it going to go back?
Obama wanted to make it easier.
Looks at everything?
Yeah, Obama wanted to make it easier. So Smith-Mundt said the U.S. government can't propagandize the American people, in essence. And Obama said, to heck with that, right? Of course, we're going to propagandize the American people, which was part of his effort to undermine, of course, the U.S. So I think revisiting that is going to be very important. And I think that there will be, as part of President Trump's efforts working with Congress to restore that. So we don't have Washington propagandizing the American people, targeting the American people explicitly for, if you will, propaganda. The point of not only 1789 but 1776 was to prevent that, right? To ensure that we have freedoms.
Yeah.
And we are men
from
and
our
women.
government. From our government.
Indeed. Let's hope that's reversed.
To that point, let's hope so. To that point, we talk a lot of this show, have talked a lot about the COVID virus. I'm wondering if you have a prism with which to look at that, number one, the actual release or whatever that was. And then there are people that watch my program that believe that the vaccine itself was another part of this warfare, and that the mandates were meant to harm rather than help. What is your perception on this?
I think it's quite clear that the virus was engineered. It was manufactured by Tony Fauci and by, in essence, in the People's Republic of China. So it was a deliberate. Maybe the release was accidental. Maybe the release was intentional, and I think we'll continue to get to the bottom of that. With respect to the vaccine, I would say what worried me about that, and I think listening to Tyler Fischer, your previous guest, right, really drove that home. It brought back a lot of memories. It's curious how we forget. COVID was not that long ago, but it seems, at least to me, right, it seems like a long time ago, that the overreach, right, the government took the mask off and showed what it really could do in the U.S., but in Europe, in the West more broadly, and that people would go along with that, right? That they would, in fact, government could send a strong signal, but then the people would take up, almost in an Orwellian 1984 sense. You knew what Big Brother wanted you to do, so you became your own policeman, right? And you policed your local community with respect to that. So I think the reaction is terrifying, and some have called it a beta test, really for control. And you can certainly see elements of that, where the government overreached. The Constitution was thrown out the window for a period of time. And that really needs to be studied and discussed regularly. It needs to be not as a distant memory, but it needs to be fresh in mind. And then also, Drew, what we need to do is, hey, the PRC was responsible for this. They knew what had been released. We need to ensure that there's an accounting there, right? We need to have a court, and the world has to get together, create a tribunal, and send the bill to Beijing, right? What do they owe the world for the tens of millions who were killed, for the hundreds of millions who were adversely affected, and for the billions of people who were adversely affected by the virus?
I am very pessimistic that such a court would assemble, but I'm not so pessimistic from the standpoint of people becoming awakened to the fact that China must be taken to task in some fashion. That it needs to be held accountable. It needs to be contained. And, we need to remember this and use it as a motivation to go, okay, we were asleep at the wheel. No more.
Indeed. Well, they do have assets, of course, that can be seized. So, if we ever do sit down and figure out the bill, I think that's an exercise the world should go through. Or in the United States, we should do that, and to never forget what we went through. We went through not only the horrific effects of the virus, but then the even more so the government overreach and the terrifying implications of that. Indeed,
it was absolutely shocking. And still, look, you could hold the government accountable for it too. They harmed a lot of people with these mandates. But Susan, do you have any questions for Brad?
I totally agree with him.
Yeah. So I was.
That makes me crazy.
What does?
Thinking about how we never made China be accountable for any of it, especially during the Biden administration. It was like, why aren't we asking them, you know.
Because it's racist, Susan. You're a racist if you say something about China.
Why is this okay? But now that we know everything that went on behind the scenes, we realize that we were colluding with them. So it's
I opened this show by saying I come to you today from the upside down, and I give you as evidence or example one. I was listening to French media this morning, and they were routinely on television describing the Charlie Kirk, at least a fundamentalist revival, as a Nazi gathering, as a Nazi event, and they're literally side-by-side pictures with Hitler's gathering. It's just mind-boggling.
It is indeed, and it shows really what we're up against. But again, taking down Antifa and its related groups is going to reveal a lot, and that's going to cause a lot of money to dry up. It's going to cause a lot of political pressure to be brought to bear, and it's going to allow the American people and the people of the world, the French, to recognize this, the Germans, the British, the Irish, to recognize really what's been going on here, and then to act accordingly. And we have to recognize the West is in peril. And you look at Keir Starmer's UK. You look at France, as you may look at Germany, throughout Europe, Australia. My goodness, what we're seeing is the heavy-handed police tactics of COVID continued, right, in many countries.
Yeah. And we have to be very careful. I'm the other thing that many things ring in my head these days, but one of them is a character in Hemingway's Sun Also Rises, where one character was asking him about his bankruptcy. How did it go? And the guy says, well, first it was slow, then it was fast. And we have to be very careful we don't get into that asymptotic phase. We've been at the beginning of it for sure.
I think that's exactly right. Charlie Kirk, I think Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom. But we can go back even to, if you remember, when Notre Dame de Paris reopened, right, in December, where there was that kind of the rebirth of the West. Notre Dame was now, had been restored. Trump was there, of course, and so many important political leaders were present for that. The West needs a renaissance. We need the rebirth. I think what we're seeing...
The reason it didn't continue is they didn't cast out Macron as their president. But we can argue about that as a separate matter. But Brad, I've got to get to Mark here. I want to check in with you once in a while, if you don't mind, and sort of talk about the progress of whatever it is we find out and, how the press is responding to it. And are we really getting the full story? I just can imagine
I have another question.
How this unfolds. My wife has a question first, though. So
how do you feel about the relationship between Xi Jinping and Putin, like that whole demonstration? Is this making Putin feeling a little stronger to maybe go into the UN territories, or is there?
No, I think Putin, I don't know. I have today, a feeling. I think he recognized it was a terrible mistake. It's a gross strategic mistake to tie himself to Xi Jinping, because now he's the instrument of Xi Jinping. He's dependent upon Xi Jinping. And of course, Moscow and Beijing have a variety of profound problems, strategic problems that they confront one another. So, and Putin has to worry about Xi Jinping exercising regime change, right? If Putin's not going to play along, given the dependence, then maybe there's some other Russian who could do the job better in Xi Jinping's eyes. So Putin has committed just strategic idiocy in invading Ukraine and then sustaining that war, and thereby ensuring that his only friend really is the devil on earth, right? The devil incarnate in Xi Jinping. So I think it's many steps are being taken, but fundamentally at root, Putin recognizes it's a horrible mistake, but he's to blame for it. He made his choices.
I'm glad Susan asked you. That's a very interesting question. What's coming up next for you? Where should we find you?
Well, I'm working on a few things, but you can always follow me at Brad Thayer on X, or Bradley Thayer Getter, or Bradley Thayer Truth. Thanks very much, Drew. Happy to join you again.
Great. I think it'll be very interesting. This is important material. Okay, and we are going to.
So nervous.
I know, Susan is. I can feel her vibrating. I can feel her vibrating over there. But did you like what he said about Putin? I think that would be something that you would agree with. That was an interesting. I'm going to hang my hat on that, and I think he's right given what we know about Xi Jinping. Listen, we should bring Mai Ling back in here, who worked for him, who Mai Ling, the scientist, not the spy Zhao Ying.
I know.
She's a friend of ours. I just kid her that if she's not a spy, why isn't she? Why aren't you? I mean, they should be using her as a spy.
It's Dr. Li Meng.
Li Meng, that's what it is. Thank you. Okay. Mark Mitchell, he has written the history of Reddit becoming radicalized. And radicalizing users. Let me give you the particular on Mark where you can find him. Mark can be found at Honest Pollster on X and Rasmussen_poll on X and Rasmussen.com. A lot to talk about here too with Mark. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, really great to be here. You know, I used to listen to you back when I was like 18 years old. Used to listen to you on Love Lines. Great to be here.
Good to see you. So where should we start? Should we start with the Reddit story and what's going on there? It's, we're hearing, maybe we should dovetail it into what we just heard from Brad. Are there sinister, sort of moneyed interests that are ultimately you can follow upstream to God knows who that are getting into Reddit?
My feeling is highly likely yes, but I just want to step back for people who don't know us. I'm an independent pollster, which means that basically neither of the political parties are paying me to try to get them to win. And we're a dying breed. And so what I'm trying to do is actually measure sentiment in the country, which is what most people don't want to know. Like most people in power don't actually want to know what the voters think because, quite frankly, they've been conflicted. And anybody painting this as kind of like still a red team, blue team, 49% to 50% country, that's not really what's happening right now. The trend is that this is really an existential battle with a growing entrenched establishment that is all too happy to trample all over your rights in order to maintain its very powerful status quo. This election, which a lot of people don't talk about, is a referendum on institutional trust. And I don't think we're seeing it restored yet. And the vast majority of Americans actually do support Donald Trump's pretty common sense America first. Like we should kick illegal aliens out of the country. That's more than a 60% position. The reason that we're always so divided is just how many lies there are. And there's this core of people on the left who have been probably the most brainwashed, gaslit people. And it's going to create a societal problem. I think we are approaching the reckoning now. And it's especially bad for the young people, which is what brings me to Reddit. And I've been screaming about Reddit for the longest time because everybody harps about how bad MSNBC is. And MSNBC is really bad. The polling that we had back in the fall, people who say they trust MSNBC most, their number one election issue was threats to democracy. And their number two is abortion. It was like 75% of them. But if you watch Fox News, it was like, no, prices are high and we want the illegals gone. So two completely different fact sets, two Americans, two totally different set of core virtues. And I think what happens is that Donald Trump gets elected. A lot of people are going to pat themselves on the back on the Republican Party. Hey, we're doing pretty good. Things look bright. Trump's going to fix anything. Well, no, you have this coming group of people, 18 to 29s, that did vote for Trump more than they were expected to. I'll put it that way. But we did the polling. And these people do not believe what traditional Western value American believing people do. They do not, they think the economy is unfair. Even people that identify as conservatives and Republicans, they believe in income caps and wealth confiscation is really dark. Like 75% of people who say they identify as conservatives want to nationalize major industries like energy, technology and healthcare in order to give more control and equity to the people. That's frightening. And these people are not in a good position to be in charge. So people beat up on folks like MSNBC. Well, MSNBC's popularity is crashing. Its ratings are in the tank. It's rebranding. Its website is now almost ranked 900 in the US. It's irrelevant. So where are these people being radicalized? Well, it's on the internet. And it's not on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is a place for like the post-hippie boomers to share nature pictures and then talk about how much they hate Trump. But the 18 to 29s, the teenagers, they go onto Reddit. It's the 5th largest website in the US. It's basically replaced bulletin boards. So the largest community for everything, every niche interest is on Reddit. And those people are getting exposed to essentially a very highly cultivated monoculture that doesn't believe in capitalism. It's pro-anti-fascist. It's overwhelmingly LGBTQ supporting. Gallup says that 23% of Gen Z now identifies as LGBTQ. This is where they're going. The Ask Transgender and the transgender subreddits on Reddit are bigger than Christianity is. And so people say, oh, well, things are going great. 18 to 29-year-olds, super conservative. No, they voted for Trump, but they don't like the system. And if they don't get Trump, they're going to vote for open communists. They're going to change the system if they ever get the keys to power. So how do we address that? And these people are being radicalized into Antifa. You can go to the anti-fascist Reddit subreddit and see right there, there's links to places on the dark web. There's Discord communities. These people it's been an open on-ramp for radicalized teenagers who have nothing to live for. These people they think the economy is unfair. A lot of them think they're never going to have a house. Only 35% of them think that today's children will be better off than their parents. Like the numbers are just across the board, really, really bleak. A lot of them aren't even trying to date. Of the number of singles, I think we have almost.
But I keep hearing. Maybe I'm ahead of the numbers, or maybe you can tell me the numbers. I keep hearing the theme of the show has been about the young males. The young males want to be able to reassert themselves. They want to start dating again. They want to have families, which is a new thing. And they've also been asking for some sort of moral guidance. They literally ask explicitly for it. Yeah. I was surprised when I started hearing it, but they were actually saying it to my face. Like, this is what we want. I was surprised. Is it possible that there's this brewing group within what you're describing there that is sort of growing, or is that fringy?
No, 100%. I think what we're going to look back at the Revolutionary War, and I think it's fair to say that if a couple of sort of really out there militiamen in Massachusetts hadn't fired a couple of shots, we might not have had a Revolutionary War. We might not have seen the Declaration of Independence. And so what happens is you have this, it's a topic I talk about often. I'm not a historian, but I think there's a lot of merit to something called the fourth turning theory. And I have to know it because I measure public opinion. And one of the hallmarks of what happens in a fourth turning, it's the churched up version of weak men create hard times create strong men create good times. And we're at the weak men create hard times to the strong men create good times. Like we are right there in that interface. And what you can track is individualism and rising institutional distrust. That's where we are. Peak demand for organizational order and low supply. That's exactly, nobody trusts medical industry, nobody trusts entertainment, nobody trusts academia, nobody trusts public school teachers, nobody trusts their neighbor. They're not helping each other out. This is literally as bad as society hopefully gets, because history tells us that this will precipitate a major crisis. And what happens is instead of a top-down push, Donald Trump can't fix all this stuff himself. Instead of a top-down push, there's a bottom-up pull for a return to strong institutions, social cohesion, shared experiences, all of the things that we all love and remember from the late 40s, early 50s, and 60s before everything started to fall apart again. Now, we can see that kind of thing happen. Like if you went back and thought about, okay, well, November, December of 2000, if you talked to somebody in December 2000 and said, well, in 10 months, George W. Bush is going to have an 85% approval rating, everybody would have laughed at you because people were fighting at each other over 300 hanging chads. The country was like torn and hanging on every word of the Supreme Court. And yet one thing happened in New York, and all of a sudden you have a threefold increase in enlistment. Everybody was brutally attacking any messenger that was not the core value of America. Now, you could argue about whether what happened was right or wrong, but all Cindy Sheehan did, for instance, is just question the official narrative about the predicate for war. And that woman was brutalized by everybody. I mean, it was not, she had a lot of courage. I never thought I would find myself agreeing with her. But what history tells us is that we are still due for something even bigger than that will reform society. And I'm not making this up. We had World War II. Before that, we had the Civil War. We had the Revolutionary War.
But two things. Two things. Usually those things come from the outside, don't they? I mean, there's some sort of event, something comes in that galvanizes us. And COVID was an opportunity to do that. And we went the other way.
I think COVID really showed everybody like how bad the issue of oppression was. Like we really were oppressed in a very soft manner, and they pushed too hard on their mechanisms of control. This mass formation psychosis, I believe there was some election integrity problems in 2020, but I also believe that many people who were not political came out and voted because the bouncing ball sing-along on ABC told them to. And unfortunately, what happened is within 12 months, everybody was reevaluating that because, I mean, we went from the biggest turnout in electoral history, again, caveat mail-in ballots, to stadiums across the country shouting FJB. It was that rapid. He had an absolute catastrophic plunge. All of his political capital was gone, and it was all laid bare. I think that was really the opening shot of the end of the culture war, because Donald Trump had not yet won the 2024 election, and already people were boycotting Bud Light. People were coming after Disney. The culture became the anti-globo homo, force the message down your throat, pro-establishment, everybody has to think the same thing message. And that was, I think a lot of people had courage and did that. That's when we were asking questions about the vaccine and election integrity. And that's how we got on the Global Engagement Center's list of top 50 dangerous Twitter accounts they wanted to take down. Now, the problem is that like here we have Trump. I think a lot of people, like we saw something incredible in our polling, right direction polling, which is not Trump job approval. The word Trump's not even in the question. It's a very good question. And we track that every day. And it shot up above 40 and has been there every week of Trump's term. That has never happened before. The longest record we had was 7 weeks in a row. So people were very happy. A weight was lifted. People want institutional reform. We had like 53% of America saying the FBI was Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. Everybody says, oh, Mockingbird Media, that's a fringe conspiracy theory. No, 64% think the CIA is literally just telling news organizations what to say. They really do. And so what I've been saying to the Trump administration is, look, we need to return to institutional trust. But you can't just slap Kash Patel at the head of the FBI and expect people to forget that it was the Gestapo. And so there's a real problem here. I don't know how you go after Reddit. Quite frankly, I do think there should be some investigations. It has a very anonymous moderator structure. Many of the top moderators moderate a lot of the influential subreddits. So a very small amount of unknown people can influence the dialogue on the fifth biggest website. The politics subreddit is like 9 million people. And if you watch it, it drives the narratives that go out to the other channel. Who are these people? They could be foreign nationals. There could be money involved. Or it literally just could be something that's bad for society that is free speech. So you're at once telling me something very scary and very optimistic, right? Am I not hearing you right? That you're saying the wheel is turning, the fourth turning is coming, strong men are going to assert themselves, it will end the culture war, will reestablish institutions and their integrity and our trust in them. And at the same time, the end of the world is coming because the 18 to 29-year-olds are being so radicalized. Well, I mean, they're the artist generation. History tells us the millennials are going to fill the gap here. There is a power vacuum. But I guess what? Like the only thing I can predict is that things are going to change fast. It's really easy to see the writing on the wall here. You know what I mean? Like we just threw out 2 million illegal immigrants have left. Many of them self-deported. We have probably some excess deaths to reckon with, and we have a crashing wave, like no births, right? And yet we have social safety nets that are buckling, and our interest on the debt's like almost $2 trillion. Like we're one bad economic hard landing and bond vigilante action away from some serious reckoning. And again, with the 18 to 29-year-olds, they're unhappy, but they're also complacent. And only 17% unemployment among that age bracket. Like what happens when it gets to 25? So I'm really worried about an economic hard landing, but nobody knows how this goes. It could be an uprising, could be a civil war. It could be a total global conflagration. I look at NATO and I think that they crave total war with every fiber of their being. The way those guys talk about it and all the positioning about, and I don't want my kids to die in a Eurasian mud field trampled over by a Russian tank. I don't want to see that. Now, hopefully, the vacuum fills sooner rather than later, and everybody kind of agrees that the society's got problems. But I mean, like, how do you fix academia? Do they all have to implode? Will they? Can we suffer that? And what kind of America has to exist for that to happen? And it says that everybody thinks that, like, we've reached peak dechurching, for instance. Well, no, these things are cyclical. There was a major revival after the Civil War, after everybody realized, dear Lord, like, what did we do? And then that you get the Methodist movement, you get the Victorian era. So we're going to see that again. It's just like, at what cost?
Yeah. And did you think that Charlie Kirk contributed one way or the other?
I think Charlie Kirk could be a harbinger. And it's the 1-2 punch of Irina Zarutska and Charlie Kirk. Because I think symbols are powerful. You remember the 2020 election and the red and blue lines. I did that stickers that people were putting on the pump. Well, this picture of Irina Zarutska on the train, followed by the video of Charlie Kirk, has changed America's issue set. Donald Trump's approval rating was floundering, and it shot up 10 points in like 3 or 4 days. But we asked how concerned people are about political violence, and that number hit 90. 69% very concerned. That's more than inflation. So, I mean, as of this week, that's the number one issue in Americans' mindset. 85% think there's going to be more political killing, and 85% agreed with Trump that this is about demonization of your political opponents. Now, we also have like a very unfortunate 26% of America that says that Charlie Kirk was speaking hateful words, and while his murder was tragic, it was understandable, including 42% of Democrats. So there's some tough stuff. Like the Democrats are not ubiquitously Trump's a fascist Hitler. I love seeing Charlie Kirk killed. It's a minority of them, but the problem is that those are the people that wield like ubiquitously the levers of power on the left. On the right, everybody's very, very consistent on the right, except for maybe on like Israel. The problem is on the right, you have like the Republican Party fighting Donald Trump for what's going to happen for the future of the party. And I honestly don't know where that goes, but the 2026 election doesn't look that good. It's going to be touch and go. It's beyond the ability of polling at this point to predict what's going to happen. Probably going to be a Dem pick out up in the House. And there goes Trump's reform agenda, legislatively at least. But we haven't, I haven't heard, have we heard positive affirmation that the CIA will no longer make it? 41% of America thinks the CIA was involved in killing Kennedy. Have we ever done a root cause and corrective action? Have we fired the people at the FBI that were persecuting J6ers and going after school board grandmas? What about the people that weaponized the IRS? There's been no institutional correction of this. And how can voters feel confident in their government now when Brad said a lot of really great things about what we might uncover about Antifa, but it joins a growing list of about 100 things that we need massive accountability on.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, this country thinks that left-wing violence is more of a problem, or right-wing violence is more of a problem than left-wing violence. Well, it's because Jan 6. We haven't uncovered what was really going on there. We need to. We have to be able to uncover the lies on all the medical and vaccine stuff, on all of it.
Also, I was looking at the data on right-wing violence. It's bizarre. They exclude essentially all of the left-wing violence and then measure, after having excluded it, measure it against right-wing violence. It's really quite bizarre. But I don't know. There's something about the religious ideology is dangerous in politics, but there's something though about a public execution that changes a mob. I mean, almost always mobs go until there's blood, and then there's kind of a catharsis of some type. And it being so viewed by so many millions of people, and it being so dramatic, I can't imagine that's not going to have ripples going down the line. Caleb, what did you put up there about
even
COVID-19?
Before the Charlie Kirk thing happened? Oh, sorry. The Irina Zarutska thing, we poll on the death penalty, and that's a pretty pivotal question. It tells you a lot about a human, what they answer that. It was plus 13 the last time we asked, 49 to 36. Well, they want DeCarlos Brown executed 60 to 20, so plus 40. That's a really, really big move. That's America craving justice. And he's probably going to sit on death row for 20 years, as is Tyler Robinson, as is Luigi Mangione. So how can people get justice?
Well, again, we get very confused about what justice is in this country, it seems to me. But Caleb, you put something up there about COVID-19.
Yes.
What was that?
Look at this amazing news. Today, YouTube, their parent company Alphabet, basically admitted in a letter, a public legal letter, that they were under pressure from the Biden admin to shut down a bunch of channels during COVID-19 and during the elections. YouTube has now...
We were one of them.
We were one of them. We all knew this. This is all stuff that we already knew, but they're finally admitting to the truth that we already knew. Now, YouTube is also extending an olive branch and saying, oh, we can come and apply and we'll reinstate a bunch of the channels that might have been banned, including a list of people who are now currently top secretary people in the admin's cabinet right now. But the problem is all of the good people, we've already moved on. We're on Rumble now. We're on X now. So YouTube is still shadow banning our channel right now.
YouTube is still, though, the largest.
We still have some good followers over there.
It's still the largest platform. We would happily go back. I would happily go back if they would create a level playing field. But
they just need to unleash us.
Wow. So, I just started later and got lucky, I guess, but we dodged the YouTube ban bullet, and we have talked a lot about vaccines and election integrity. They've actually been our biggest partner in spreading election misinformation and health disinformation. Things like 56% of Americans now think the vaccine is likely causing a significant number of unexplained deaths.
We would absolutely, love, I have a long history with YouTube. I started on YouTube in 2007 as a teenager, and that's how I got into this whole field. So I keep on extending our own olive branch to them and saying, please, we would love to. Dr. Drew is a perfect fit for viewers on YouTube, especially with all the time he was on TV and radio. Why can't you guys just work with us? So if you have any contacts there, we would love to work with YouTube somehow.
I'll try. I have a partner
we could
manager
help them clean
who does
it up.
nothing for me.
We could help them.
So
I just feel like it's the international reach that's stopping it. Like, I think that Drew, his message reaches too far. I don't know. I just think it has something to do with that.
Well, Mark, I hope you'll send us your data as it comes out, because you opened this by saying nobody wants to hear what the numbers show. I desperately want to know what the numbers show. So if there's a way we can stay in touch with you, and if you'll help us amplify what it is you're putting out there, I'd be happy to do that, because Rasmussen has been spot on so much. I mean, it's just been of course they get, everyone attacks them because the numbers aren't what they want to hear, right? And that's why people attack you guys. And I know what numbers don't lie. They may not be up to the minute, right? There may be something brewing that changes things, whatever. But numbers are just the numbers, and we got to listen to them. But I want to wrap with: I understand you're afraid, but are you optimistic? Where's your head at? And what are you kind of looking toward?
I think that there will be a realization in the next few months that, well, first, a lot of good things can happen. I'm hearing rumors about impaneled grand juries to look at election integrity. We saw Trump's Truth, the Pam Bondi begging for action. We saw the stuff that might start happening on the Antifa. I'm just very mistrustful of the federal government's ability to police and fully fix itself. And so I think over the next 12 to 24 months, what we're going to see is probably a realization that Trump can't fix this all himself. And there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of people that lack direction, and there's really no way for them to get involved. The Republican Party doesn't want them. Corporate America doesn't want them. You know what I mean? They've been shut out of a lot of stuff. And I don't know what it looks like, but if a lot of people get involved and volunteer.
I think the ship writes. I think Charlie Kirk's simple message: fall in love, get married, have kids, make meaning. If they can hear that through all this trauma of a public execution, that will get their rudder in the water. It just naturally does that. But we'll see. Very interesting. So I am worried about it all the time, as you clearly are, but you're having to look at the numbers. I'm glad I don't have to, but I would love to amplify them for you, and at least, and maybe looking at the numbers will help change the numbers, maybe it will help people wake up to stuff.
I hope looking at them is the only thing that keeps me sane. I appreciate the help. We'll definitely give you an account.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Where do you want people to go?
Rasmussen_poll on Twitter, Honest Pollster on Twitter. And we also do YouTube channels. We stream twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, usually, and then put out a lot of bespoke videos. Mostly it's like the pollsters are lying to you. That's the core of our content. But we talk about American public opinion.
I have weirdly always looked to Rasmussen as sort of, I listened, I have my ear to the ground and say, okay, what are they saying? And it's been a good guide. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you to my guest today. Very interesting. Let me look at you guys out on the Restream and the Rumble Rant. I went way over, of course. Who does? Who's they? Well, interesting. We'll see if that gets unraveled. According to Brad, it'll get unraveled. I look forward to it.
Yeah, it was.
Another loaded show the next couple of days. Naomi Wolf, Nick Holscher, Jessica Rose, too much to talk about. Aaron Siri, Tiff, and I don't know who that is, but Corey DeAngelis is all about the. I'll find out who Tiff is, of course. Corey DeAngelis is all about the charter schools. Andrei Burkhoff is my indulgence. He's a French journalist. He was on fire today. I've got a lot to talk to him about because he's sort of. I think today's the day. The comparing the Charlie Kirk Memorial with a Nazi event, that was his bottom. He was just like, he was on fire today. He actually left what he was doing and joined another group that he's speaking of. We'll find out what he's thinking. I guess Jessica Rose is on there twice. Is that true? Or maybe she's switching over to the first. Joe Latipo and the First Lady of Florida, Casey DeSantis, joined us. Got a lot to get into. We'll get into it all tomorrow at 2:00. We will see you there.
Ta-ta.
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.